The New York Jets have made a sneaky good move as they've made a key signing that has a huge impact on this New York Jets team, getting a guy who is vastly underrated for this team. Meanwhile, the New York Jets are also filling a position of need that's similar to a position that they're being expected to draft with, while also making a huge effort in covering all of their bases, and we're going to break all this down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. And guys, if you are part of that 73% that's not subscribed to Jets Digest, this is supposed to be for all New York Jets content. You guys do not want to miss out on any videos, so make sure to subscribe and turn on those post notifications. But let's jump into the video. We have a lot to discuss as the New York Jets made a very, very good move as they brought in a key player for this roster, brought back a key player for this roster, as they added another guard, another offensive lineman to this already exciting offensive line. As it was revealed by PFT, offensive lineman Xavier Newman-Johnson has signed his exclusive rights tender to return to the New York Jets, according to the NFL's transactions report. Newman-Johnson's 25 years old and spent the past 2 seasons with the Jets. And on top of that, Newman-Johnson signed with the Titans as an undrafted free agent in 2022. He played 1 game as a rookie after spending most of that season on the practice squad. And in 2023, he split time between the Titans and the Jets. He's played 20 games with 5 starts in his career, seeing action on 307 offensive snaps and 65 on special teams. So it does make you think, okay, well, is this really an important move? Is this really a good move for the Jets? Where does this matter? But Matt, you were just telling me he is a lot better than what people are giving him credit for.
So, I was just telling you about before we started this video how everyone knows that the place to be when you're talking about super under the radar players that not everyone's watching on a down-to-down basis, you got to go to PFF, see what they say about them, because there's people who watch every snap of every game. And I was surprised to find that Xavier Newman actually graded out as the 36th best guard in the NFL last season. You dig into the stats a little bit more, you see that was on 11 snaps played, all at right guard. So, not a huge sample size at all, but the snaps that he did play clearly impressed the people who he needed to impress and re-sign with the New York Jets at a position that you were saying. We want to make the offensive line be as strong as it can possibly be. So we're happy to see talented offensive linemen get re-signed. We want that depth. Right now, he's listed by ESPN as a backup right guard, so filling in as the right guard behind Elijah Vera-Tucker, who, as you're going to mention, unfortunately seems to get injured a lot. So I'm happy that we are going to have a player who can fill in games that Elijah Vera-Tucker does miss. That MetLife turf is crazy bad for injuries, so we got to make sure every single offensive lineman that we can have a capable backup for, we want to make sure we go out and find that capable backup for that player. Now, this guy was an undrafted free agent when he was coming out in the draft of 2022, coming out of Baylor, but he's always found work. He hasn't had a season where he wasn't playing. He was with the Titans for his first 2 years and then signed with the Jets last season. Now, I understand he only played 11 snaps, but this is a guy who, should he be asked to fill in, we're hoping he doesn't have to play, but should he be asked to fill in, we do think he's going to be able to get the job done on the limited snaps that he's hopefully he gets 0 snaps, but those limited snaps he's going to do a good job with.
Yeah, and something to add on, just because Xavier Newman-Johnson is not a name that too many people are familiar with. This, unfortunately, the biggest way that people ever saw Xavier Newman-Johnson in the media was he was the guy who, just to give some context to the viewer here, he's the guy who, I'm completely blanking on the game, Matt, but when we saw that Jets player sort of after the play, stumble around and people got really worried that there was some head injury or something there, that was Xavier Newman-Johnson. He ended up having a neck injury, and despite as scary as that looked, he only missed the rest of that game, and he was able to come back just fine. So it is a good sign to have a guy who certainly has shown some durability over his time in the NFL. Again, as you mentioned, he's not playing a ton of snaps, only 11 last year, but AVT, as we already kind of mentioned, he does have an injury history, and the best thing to do if you're a team that has an offensive guard with a high injury history is bring up a guy who's been very, very, very talented at both staying on the field when he gets his number called, but also has been effective on the field. So I love this move for the Jets. At the same time, you think about this offensive line, and it is it's shaping out to be a very, very nice offensive line thus far, and it might not be done yet depending on how the NFL draft turns out. But right now what we're looking at, for all the positions as things stand today is you have your left tackle as Olu Fashanu, left guard is John Simpson, you have Joe Tippmann at center, Elijah Vera Tucker at right guard, and then Carter Warren at right tackle. Now, the backups for that are you have backup tackles in Max Mitchell and Zach Bailey. You have Xavier Newman, obviously, now, and Cole Levow, or Levow? Do you know the name?
I believe it's Levow.
Levow. All right, I was right the first time. That's a rare occasion that I pronounced someone's name correctly. Josh Myers as your backup center. So the Jets are building up a bit of an exciting offensive line that not only does have a lot of talent up front, Carter Warren being the weak link there right now.
Yeah, so I got to cut you off real quick. We also signed from the Patriots free agency Chukwuma Okorafor is also an option at starting for right tackle should the New York Jets not draft one in the drafts. But whether it's the first round or later in the draft, the Jets are a mortal lock to select a tackle on either days 1, 2, or 3 of the NFL draft this year.
I'd be shocked if it's not days 1 or 2. Like, honestly, I don't think they're going to wait for a day 3 tackle. Like, no shade towards Carter Warren, Zach Bailey, Chukwuma Okorafor, but Max Mitchell, but they haven't shown yet to be starting level tackles. And we know because we've talked about this a lot, and it's been very obvious, also considering he has had years where he's the most sacked quarterback in football. Justin Fields panics if he doesn't have a good offensive line. This Jets offensive line is literally a consistently talented, a very good, consistent right tackle away from being a top 10 offensive line in the NFL. So it makes it go back. And if you guys remember from the intro video that you watched 6 minutes and 45 seconds ago, I did put in the final place there is none other than Armand Membo, the man who has been linked to the Jets time and time again. Now, there are other tackles in there who could be drafted in the first round. The Jets are not set in stone to be drafting at 7th. There could be a trade. At this point, it's feeling more likely it would be a trade down, which we both have said we'd like at this point. But the Jets likely are looking at the offensive line. They're looking at the tight end position. They're probably not looking at the wide receiver position for day 1, but if they trade down maybe a little bit, they definitely will show some interest. So there's a lot to look at for this Jets team, but it feels like if they were to draft Armand Membo and then with this also backup situation you have, the Jets have a deep, great offensive line that you look at it and it's impossible to not get excited because how young all these names are. John Simpson, the oldest guy there by a couple of years. Like it's a really exciting time to be an offensive line fan and a Jets fan.
So we talk about how this Jets rebuild is kind of looking like the way the Detroit Lions did it. And if you're paying attention to the Detroit Lions, they have one of the best offensive lines in football. They went out and drafted Penei Sewell with the first-round pick when they could have taken a really, really good offensive player at a skill position, but they took the offensive line because they thought that is what was most important. That was the 7th overall pick, just like what we got this year.
Yeah.
Then the Philadelphia Eagles just won the Super Bowl. How did they do it? They draft offensive linemen in the first round, and even when they have an offensive lineman ready to go, they're already drafting his backup. That's how they found Cam Jurgens, who's one of their best interior offensive linemen right now. This move didn't work out as well, but they had Jason Peters, and they still drafted Andre Dillard to fill in after he was done. The way you do is you just keep investing in that offensive line, and no matter when guys get injured, you're going to have more guys who are able to step up and able to fill into that position. Because like you said, with Justin Fields, he needs to have a good offensive line, and I'm not going to say he panics, but what he does do is when the pressure comes, he takes his eyes off the defense, stops reading the defense, and tucks the ball down and runs. But when you're playing quarterback, I want to see you throw the ball because that's what we need you to do. And we got to make sure if he doesn't feel protected, he's not going to be able to play quarterback at a high level. So the number one of the number one goals has to be make sure Justin Fields feels safe in the pocket at all times so we can actually learn how to process defenses instead of learn how to escape, potential sackers coming to come get him.
I agree. Now, I kind of have my answer to this, and I think the answer is no. Do you think all the signings to the offensive line, because they have done a lot with this offensive line, do you think that could be a sign that maybe they will go another way at 7th overall personally, or do you think this has no impact on it?
There's no move that has been made this offseason that is going to preclude the Jets from making a different move. Even signing Justin Fields, if Cam Ward was there at 7, it wouldn't stop the Jets from drafting him. They would still, even if they love Shedeur Sanders, they're still going to take Shedeur Sanders if he's at 7, even though they have Justin Fields, because that's what they like to do. Don't tell me in the comments that it never happens. We saw Kirk Cousins last year get signed to a massive deal, and then that first round immediately draft another quarterback. So don't tell me it doesn't happen. It's possible. None of these moves are going to preclude the Jets from taking whoever they want in the NFL draft. It's all about taking the best player available. That's something the Jets have said they're going to do, and I trust them. I think they've put themselves in a position where it's going to be easy for them to take the best player available. They don't have a need that you're like, we're dying to fill this position. So I do think they're going to be able to take the best player available, and hopefully we get a really good one at 7.
And I cannot wait for the NFL draft. I'm pretty sure everyone watching this feels the same, and we are going to be covering it a whole lot. So make sure you guys subscribe to Jets Digest, like this video, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Jets.